Good day, good people. It's your man, Dashawn Is. That's what they call me. Coming at you live and direct from the dojo, clearing the crust from the third eyelid so that you and I and we can see clear. You know what I mean? Clean that shit up. Yo, today I want to chop a little bit about Mandela Effect. You guys familiar with this? Are you familiar? You know about the Mandela Effect? If you're not knowing, you must have been living under a rock, because like the Mandela Effect is, I think I probably heard about it the first time 4 years ago, 3 years ago, I don't know. Anyway, this is a late post, but for those of you who haven't gone down this rabbit hole yet, let me get it popping for you. I'm going to share with you 3 of my craziest Mandela effects, like the ones that affect me directly. Some of them are whatever, some of them I don't have a memory for, but like these ones I'm about to bust down, yo, I mean, they got me bugging because like, I like to think I got a pretty solid memory, you know? Memory is fallible, just so that we all understand that. I understand that memory is not a perfect science per se, but there are some things that are so connected to us that we can't forget. It seems impossible to forget. And before I go any further, if you don't know what the Mandela Effect is, let me bust that down first. So Nelson Mandela, who died in 2013, was a freedom fighter and a prisoner in South Africa for I think 28 years before they finally let him out. And when he came out, he became president. And he went from being hated by the country, and when I say the country, I mean basically white people. And when he came out, he was then loved by everybody in the country, except for the white people who are still holding hate. The modern day ones, he got a lot of love. A lot of them helped him get into office, but basically, he went from being very hated to being beloved before he passed away. Where the Mandela Effect idea comes in, though, is that a good portion of the population of the planet believes Mandela died in prison in the 80s. People claim to remember newspaper clippings, remember how they felt when they heard the news, stuff like that. And so because he didn't die in the 80s, and most of us now know that he died in 2013, the idea of things not being as we remember them to be is what they've coined the Mandela Effect. So if you want a better explanation than that, you could look it up. I mean, it's all over the internet. So an example of this is the Berenstain Bears, right? If you are of my generation, I just recently turned 46. So Berenstain Bears was a part of my literary collection as a kid, I don't remember my parents reading to me much, but I do remember having books in the house, right? What I specifically remember about Berenstain Bears books is me writing in all of my books. Because when you're a little kid, you write on walls, you write on anything once you learn how to use that apparatus, right? So as a kid, I was trying to learn to write. I was probably in, kindergarten, first grade, and trying to figure out how to write. And something distinctive to me about my writing was me and ease. For some reason, I couldn't figure out ease in the beginning. The letter E. So my E's would appear, I'm going to draw this out. My E's would appear backwards, right? So I draw the line, and then I draw 4 lines backwards. Then I figured out, oh, that's backwards. So I flipped it. So now it goes from the backwards E, weird E, to like me doing it the other way with 4 lines, right? Then eventually I got to, oh, there's only 3 lines. I don't know why I saw 4, but for some reason, maybe I was a little dyslexic. No, I don't want to put that on myself, but I just didn't get it until I got it. Now, the importance of that is I have a distinct memory of copying the name, the Berenstain Bears, on the front page in my book with me writing the letters under it and mistakenly writing the E backwards at first. The E in Stein, right? I think Stein's like a Jewish, what you call it? I forget what you call it. Some, not prefix, suffix, I don't know. Anyway, Stein. S-T-E-I-N. Stein, Stain, Berenstain Bears is how I remember it being said, but Stein or Stain, or this is how it's spelled, right? So according to the Mandela Effect, it was never spelled that way. What? I mean, how is that possible? How is it possible that I have a distinct memory of writing this thing a certain way and it not being spelled that way? Apparently, the Berenstain Bears is spelled like the word stain, like a stain on your clothes, S-T-A-I-N. That doesn't make any sense. What's even more confounding is when I was doing some research online, I found a picture that literally has both spellings, one on the hang tag and one on the product. I'll find that picture. Look at it here. Is it here? I don't know. Look at it right here. I'm putting the picture up because this thing obviously says that, somebody messed up and spelled it two different ways. But according to, I don't know, the powers that be or what's floating around on the internet, it was never spelled S-T-E-I-N, right? It's always been A-I-N. That doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, you could probably go through some directories and find actual human beings with that last name, Berenstain, like the author. No, the author's. I mean, you could probably go through a book and find, what I'm saying, find the actual Berenstain spelled like Stein. But can you find somebody with the name spelled like stain, like a stain on your clothes? Like I doubt it. But anyway, this is one of those powerful Mandela effects that has me confounded because I don't get it. I don't really have an explanation for this. But I do have some theories about what's happening with the Mandela effect, which I will discuss at the end of this little tirade here. Okay, the next one that I remember, and this one really, man, I don't know. So when I was a shorty, this memory is from Biloxi, Mississippi in the 70s. And who didn't watch James Bond? You know what I'm saying? Everybody was a Bond fan. My parents watched it, specifically my dad. So I have memories of watching all the Bond films. Specifically, Moonraker. Moonraker was, I don't even know what number it was in terms of the Bond films, but Moonraker was a very specific Bond movie, and it came out apparently when I was around second grade. It could have come out sooner, but I have a memory of second grade-ish, around that area, because I had a teacher, my second grade teacher's name was Mrs. Bond, and of course I was smart enough to know that she wasn't married to James Bond, but the other second graders would ask her, and so I kind of fell into that because she was really pretty. It's like, are you married to James Bond? I ask her every day. Just ridiculous. Anyway, so second grade, boom. I remember this movie, Moonraker, right? In the movie Moonraker, one of the main adversaries is Jaws. I don't remember the name of this actor, but I think he was like around 7 feet tall, like a really big dude, Andre the Giant size, and the reason he was called Jaws is because he had these big metal teeth, like big cartoonish looking chompers that just look like big jagged jaws, right? These were his teeth, and whenever he was coming after somebody, you would see these big chompers, right? So, screw, things are happening in the movie. You got all the action, all the typical James Bond stuff. And at one of the climaxes of the movie, if not the climax, because I can't remember all the action in the movie, but I remember what I'm about to tell you right now, is that at one point, Jaws, comes across a little blonde lady. I can't think of her name right now. You'll see it when I show this video, but he comes across this little blonde lady. So first of all, on screen, you're struck by the stark difference in size. He's like 7 feet tall. She looks like she's about 5 feet tall. And in this moment, happened, but we got some backup. All right. So in this moment, right, they come across each other, and he looks down at her. She looks up at him with these little glasses and little pigtails, and she smiles. When she smiles, The gimmick of this portion of the movie is she's got braces on. He smiles back at her. They fall in love. That's the gimmick. That's the gag of that part of the movie. It's the whole thing. Everybody has a laugh. So as a little kid, it's something that stands out in memory. This big, intimidating guy. Then she smiles up. Oh, she's got braces. Oh, they've got something in common. So boom, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the whole shit of the whole thing. That's the gimmick. So now, according to Mandela Effect lore, there were no braces. She never had braces. What? Okay, so I heard a story in doing this research that one Hollywood guy is telling this very story to another Hollywood guy. The second Hollywood guy was like, dude, you do know that I had something to do with that movie Moonraker, right? It's like, yeah, that's why I'm sharing this with you. So he's like, you can't tell me she didn't have braces. I mean, that's the whole thing. He's like, yes, I know, that's why I'm telling you. So apparently they go to the dude's screening room or whatever, pull the videotape, the VHS off the shelf, put it in his VHS, his VCR, puts the tape in there, fast forwards, plays it, she smiles, no braces. Please, I implore you, what are we talking about here? How does this dude's own videotape from a movie that he apparently worked on, and he knows the gimmick, how's his videotape in his home not going to have the braces? If you go online and do research, I haven't been able to find not one photo or image of her looking up at him and smiling with braces on. She's just smiling and it's just teeth. Now, there is some residual of this Mandela effect actually being a real thing. I mean, of her actually having braces, because there's a commercial, I'm going to insert it here if I can find it, of the guy Jaws in like some sort of commercial, you'll see, and he's smiling at the cashier, and the cashier looks up at him and she has braces. Now, of course, he doesn't because he's an actor now in a commercial. But, like, yo, why would that even be a thing? Why would that be happening if, you know what I'm saying, if she didn't actually have braces in the movie? It's just bananas. So I'm going to put some footage here or point you in the right direction so that you can see for yourself. Like, this is just crazy. So that's one that really has me effed up, man, because I remember distinctly that scene. You know what I'm saying? And so it's mind-bending. It's mind-bending that these things are happening and no one's offering an explanation why. No one's really trying to offer an explanation. I haven't really researched any scientists really speaking on this, but I'm talking about like people who, people who are doing these deep dives. I don't really see anybody coming up with an actual explanation for it. And I think I have a theory as to at least something that may be making this happen, but I don't know why it should happen, and I don't understand why it's not a thing on the evening news. Well, really, I do understand why, but it's not a thing on the evening news, and they're not speaking about it. You know what I'm saying? So here's my third one, and this one is crazy. And now I think about it, I thought about this when I saw the movie Bohemian Rhapsody. Okay, so the song We Are the Champions by Queen. Really famous song. Everybody knows the song. And if you don't know it, if you happen to be a young person who doesn't know the song, there's reference to it in so many movies that you might have heard a snippet of it at some point. But basically, we are the champions, my friends, right? So there's this long rolling sort of theatrical song. And when the song ends, there's a declaration, right? It kind of moves up to a crescendo. We are the champions. And then no time for losing, 'cause we are the champions of the world, right? Of the world is how, sorry for my bad singing, but of the world is how this song ends. It's how everybody knows the song ends. Go try to play that song right now. Go try to find the song. We Are the Champions, I think is the name of it. Mine is attached to the copy that I have in my archive, like in my crates, is We Will Rock You. Right? That song. And then they do the so I don't even know if on the original album that's how this song comes off. All I know is I've grown up hearing this song on the radio, in movies, and at the end of it, there's a little break at the end of the word champions, and then of the world is how the song ends. Now, again, I saw the movie Bohemian Rhapsody that recently came out about Queen and what's his face, Freddie Mercury. And I remember watching the movie and trying to see if they put the ending in that movie, but I don't remember at the moment. But I do know that what's the dude, the late night dude, Jamie something, that does like the karaoke car ride sing along thing. I think it was an episode of Michelle Obama, and whoever's in the car with him, they're riding down the street and they're singing this song, and when it gets to the end, people in the car say of the world, but the music on the radio cuts off, and they're all looking at each other like, what happened to the end, right? So it's not even about them and their reaction, it's about my reaction and how I feel when it dropped off. And I'm like, wait a minute, I remember watching that, because I don't watch that show, but I remember seeing, for some reason I saw that karaoke episode before I really knew about the Mandela Effect, or that this was one of the Mandela Effects. And I remember it dropping off. I'm like, because I sung it out, I'm like, what the hell happened? Did they cut it off? They all looked at each other. That was weird. And then they went on to the rest of the show. But they didn't talk about it any further, and I forgot about it right then. But then when I was doing Mandela Effect research, I came across this and I was like, wait a minute. I remember seeing that video, and where the hell is the end of this song? Listen, look, I don't know what's going on, right? Don't use me as gospel. I'm a person with ideas and speculations. I happen to be a skeptic, and I've also been accused of being gullible and falling for anything. So, I don't really care about other people's opinions. What I do know is that, having grown up in the military and looking at the world from a slightly different perspective than most, I don't just believe what's being told to me. I don't. I mean, I can't. It doesn't make any sense to do that. And if you have half a brain, then you realize that whatever's being told to you, you have to use your instinct, you have to use your intelligence, you have to do research, you have to find out the truth for yourself. And this is one of those things that, it's just a strange one for me. And I'm going to continue to follow it and see if I can learn any new information about it. If I do, I'll share it here. But on to my theory about what's happening here, right? So I don't know a lot about a lot of the specific details, because I'm not degreed in this stuff, but I understand like the basics of computing, which is zeros and ones. I think all of us kind of understand like it's zeros and ones, yes and no. Basically, is how computer code is written from the basics, right? But as far as I know, there are 2 quantum computers on the planet that are functioning that I know about. One of them is apparently at the Pentagon. The other one is at the Hadron Collider in Switzerland. If you're not familiar with that thing, it's a 17-mile circular structure built in Switzerland that was created to find the God particle that started everything, that started the universe. And the way that these scientists have figured to find the God particle was to smash subatomic particles together. So the 17-mile tract, they're shooting these subatomic particles around at each other and smashing them into each other. And in the nanoseconds that these things create a collision, in those nanoseconds there are other elements, or I don't really know how to describe it, but I would say elements for lack of education. But these elements collide and they form an element that lasts for a nanosecond. I think the particle was found in that brief amount of time of them finally smashing it together. And I think that this happened in, I've heard a couple different stories. I heard it was 2010. And just yesterday, I think I heard it was 2012 that they actually, after they built it, they figured it out. I think the actual structure of the building was destroyed, and then they had to rebuild it. And once they rebuilt it, they were able to make this collide happen. Now, I don't know a lot about the universe, but what I do know in my gut is that it seems pretty crazy to create or try to find a God particle that would create an entire universe. Because to me, it sounds like that particle is pretty friggin' powerful, right? And if this particle created the entire universe, why are we playing around with it on our little planet? Like, we're one little speck in a vast, infinitely vast space that this particle supposedly created. So what if smashing this thing creates a disturbance in our space-time? Right? What if it creates a ripple effect that destroys or rearranges space-time? I don't know. So that a part of these strange anomalies with the Mandela Effect, I feel like might be coming from the work that they've done at CERN. And the reason I would even speculate that is because a couple of things. First, there's a weird video of CERN scientists and technicians, or people who work at this Hadron Collider, who do a music video to Pharrell's song Happy. So it's just the music of Happy playing, and then each, not scene, but every time they show a different section of CERN, they're showing scientists dancing around to Happy. There's no explanation. There's just a bunch of white people doing offbeat dances to the song Happy. I don't really understand it. But one thing that stands out in this video, you can find it, I'll try to find a link and put it on here, is you go into what looks like to be an office of one particular scientist, and he's got crazy papers around. This particular scene looks like any scene that you would find in a mad scientist kind of movie, a disheveled office with a bunch of paperwork and formulas on the blackboard and all that kind of shit. But this dude is singing along. He's a part of the video, and around his neck hangs a piece of paper. Around his neck hangs a piece of paper that says Mandela on it.